So, you know when a situation gets to a point where it's so catastrophic, people start saying the phrase, "I hope this gets taught at universities so that it never happens again"? Well, this is exactly what's been happening in the Nijisanji and Selen Tatsuki situation, or better yet, incident. Because when I say that this is catastrophic, I don't mean to say it just in regards to VTubing. No, I say this in regard to the entire internet. Because this is one of the biggest cases of corporate mismanagement I've ever seen in my life. We're talking about a management team that didn't do anything about internal bullying and harassment and let someone almost die because of their negligence. I purposefully waited until we got somewhat of a satisfying conclusion because yes, there is a good ending here, thankfully. And what ended up happening to the corporation, or what is currently happening, is hilarious. This is gonna be a roller coaster, so strap in. Alright, so here's the deal. To really understand the severity of the situation, you have to understand the ecosystem of VTubing in general. The biggest players in VTubing often are associated to a corporation. These corporations tend to be from Japan, at least the biggest ones, and they kind of work like music labels, where they literally, and I mean literally, own everything. And yes, that also includes your VTuber model. Okay, this one in particular is fan-made, the ugly bastard, but you get the point. They own what makes you, you. And it goes without saying, they also have access to all your social media accounts, they have the passwords, they can do whatever they want, they can delete whatever they want. It's up to them completely. People will sign with them anyway though, because they're attracted by the idea of this network, of these resources, of all the stuff that the corporation can do for them. Just like how musicians will still sign with music labels. Currently, the two biggest corporations in VTubing are Hololive and Nijisanji. Hololive is owned by its parent company, Cover, and Nijisanji is owned by its parent company, Anycolor. Now you probably already know this by now from the title of this video and where we're heading with this, but the corporation at the center of this incident is Nijisanji's English branch, which is of course owned by Anycolor. But one thing you might not know is just how much Anycolor is worth. When it was put on the Japanese stock exchange in 2022, the worth of the company was at $2.5 billion. That's American dollars. Yeah, it pays to have anime girl avatars talk in front of a camera. VTubing's main source of revenue always came from Japan, but in 2020, during the pandemic's peak of loneliness, Nijisanji and Hololive saw an opportunity. English-speaking weebs. That's when the main culprit of the hour was created, which is Nijisanji's English branch. Selen was in the second ever English branch wave, which is Obsidia. She's right here, as you can see. But before even joining Nijisanji, she used to be known as DokiBird. Initially, she was drawing Twitch emotes, and then started streaming. People loved her wacky personality, and she was just having fun. She then joined Nijisanji's English branch under Obsidia alongside Roseby Lovelock and Petra Gurin. She was in love with the game Apex Legends. She would play that whenever she could. People quickly fell in love with her personality, and she was truly known to care about her fans way too much, often making big sacrifices to make them happy. She called them her Dragoons. But you know what? Since her first stream in July of 2021 with Nijisanji, things were going really well. Or at least, that's what people thought. Because at the end of 2023, news would come out that would turn the VTuber community upside down. It all started on Christmas Day, a day you're meant to enjoy with family. It couldn't have gone worse. The trigger for this entire catastrophe? A music video. Selen had worked on a music video for her fans. She paid $15,000 out of her own pocket because Nijisanji wouldn't fund it. And on top of not funding it, what do? They take down the video in under 24 hours. No explanation to the public. Remember what I said about corporations and how they have access to all social media of their VTubers? Yeah, that's what happened, and she couldn't do anything about it. All she could realistically do under the very tight contracts and NDAs of a corporation is make up a vague tweet, sort of explaining what's going on to her fans. In it she says, "Hello, I apologize, but management has privated the song. Please feel free to re-upload since a lot of money and effort was done by so many Dragoons," her fans. I'm really sad that this happened on Christmas, but I hope somehow you guys will still be able to listen to it in some way. So I should mention that even at this point, many fans were asking Nijisanji to treat their talent better and to stop giving Selen such a hard time, okay? Even before all the stuff you're about to see, this was already a pressing issue. Her fans could already tell that this was getting to Selen. I mean, it is heartbreaking to lose so much hard work just like that. So they were understandably worried about her mental state. But no one could have been ready for what would happen 2 days after the music video got taken down. Because out of nowhere, on December 27th, she tweets on her account, "I apologize for the silence. I've been in the hospital after an accident and will be staying there for a few days to be under supervision. I just got back access to my phone yesterday." That's not something you want to see your favorite VTuber ever tweet out. Now look, at the time, her Dragoons did what any good fans would, wishing her good health, of course being worried, but hoping for the best. What many couldn't see at the time though is that there's something in this tweet that's very weird and off-putting. The Japanese apostrophe. As you can see from this tweet here by VT Screens, there are 2 examples of 2 different tweets, both made by another VTuber in the Nijisanji English branch called Anna Alouette. In the first tweet, a normal apostrophe is used, but in the second, a quote-unquote Japanese apostrophe is used, signifying that the first tweet was tweeted by her and that the second tweet was tweeted by her management team. The implications of such an accusation is just beyond what any of us can process. This already in itself is a PR catastrophe, a disaster by every magnitude. But at the time, the only people who really knew what was going on were Selen, her emergency contact, we'll get into that later, Nijisanji, her parents, and her lawyer. But as far as everyone else was concerned, her fans, and even her closest friends, their only source of updates were her tweets. So 4 days after being hospitalized, she tweets, "Thank you to everyone for the support since I've been gone. I'm discharged from the hospital and my parents are helping me after my accident. Thank you to my Dragoons for all the kindness and support. I will keep trying my best in the new year. You are what keeps me going." Now, of course, people were happy she was out of the hospital, but the concern was still there. It was very vague and people didn't know what was going on. But unfortunately, as you might have concluded from watching this video so far, things only got worse. 2 weeks after Selen's hospitalization, Nijisanji's English branch tweets, "Due to unforeseen reasons, we would like to announce that Selen Tatsuki will not be able to participate in any activities at Anime Impulse Los Angeles 2024 on January 13th to 14th. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience and disappointment caused to fans who have been looking forward to this." And then they detailed that the fans were going to get refunds. Now, all the replies here couldn't care less about the event and are all hoping for Selen's recovery. They're very supportive and are pretty much just giving their thoughts and prayers to her. But this was the first time since she got out of the hospital that we got any form of updates on her, and it's been 2 weeks. People were starting to get worried. So another 2 weeks passed by, and now it's been 1 full month since she tweeted that she got out of the hospital. So at this point, patience started to run real thin, okay? Prompting her fans to rally around the hashtag #WhereIsSelen on Twitter, demanding answers just to know that she's okay, alive and breathing. This is the tweet that started it. If this statement comes off as asking for too much as a fan, I apologize, but I and many other Dragoons have been worried about her well-being, and I think it's gone long enough to not hear from Nijisanji directly. The most important thing to understand here is that at this point, even if you watched VTubers she interacted with, they wouldn't mention her. Nijisanji, her corporation, who has a responsibility to represent her, wouldn't mention her either. It was absolute radio silence. And what's even worse is that her close friends didn't even know what was going on either. Just 1 day after the hashtag started trending, a friend of Selen, RPR, said, "It's been over a month of pure silence and is starting to get concerning. It would be nice to know where and how Selen is doing at the very least." Things were starting to heat up, but of course, in the VTuber community, nothing is really one-sided, even when it comes to something like this. Some people still manage to find wrong things with that tweet and with that hashtag, defending Nijisanji and defending Selen's privacy. This shows that Nijisanji's English branch has huge problems because when a talent of theirs says they've been hospitalized and then disappears for a month, you can't just not say anything. You can't just let the fanbase fight within itself. That's gross mismanagement. But there's always a but in this story if you think this has been mismanagement so far. Buddy, now we're getting into the meat of the situation. Because just a few days after the #WhereIsSelen hashtag was created, All of Selen's videos on her YouTube channel were privated, including past VODs. Her Twitter was privated as well, all simultaneously, and then a mega-sized nuclear bomb drops on everyone's heads. The Selen Tatsuki termination notice. This was so massive that the day it happened, it was everywhere on Twitter. Even if you didn't follow VTubers, you probably have seen something in reference to this incident. But before we get into why this is one of the most badly written termination notices I've ever seen in my life, one thing to keep in mind. There are two ways a VTuber can leave an agency. The first one is graduation, in which they pretty much leave on amicable terms and they make it a celebration, which is why they call it a graduation. They have a graduation stream to say goodbye and everyone lives happily ever after. Termination, on the other hand, is what happens to someone like Ryoran, where the company claims that they breached the contract in one way or another, so they're being fired. So just imagine, okay, you're a fan, you've been waiting 1 month to hear back from Selen after she was hospitalized, and her company comes in and says, yeah, you know what, she's fired. Excuse me, what? Like what? And of course, they also got community noted, but we'll get into that later. First, the terribly written termination notice. This is a very vaguely, very badly translated termination letter. We don't really get any specific reason as to why she got terminated, just very vague ones. I mean, look at this. They say that Selen has repeatedly violated the activity rules. The activity rules is something that all VTubers have to comply with under Nijisanji, right? But then when you read into what the activity rules actually were, they say they encompass a wide range of issues, such as non-compliance with rights confirmation and authorization flows. What does that even mean? What are we talking about, a jet engine or a VTuber's termination? But many of the things they were talking about in the first page are redundant because they're spoken about in the second page in more detail, and most of this revolves around the music video, which is why they gave it an entire section on this termination notice. In it, they say that she posted the music video without getting proper authorization from her management team, because all relevant parties had to be okay with it. Of course, she was under the impression that she could post it because not only did she pay for the entire thing out of pocket, $15,000, but according to the community notes, Lily Pichu, the person behind the original song, had given full authorization to Nijisanji to use the song. But no, you know what? Let's take it down and not even tell the fans why it got taken down, right? So her tweet saying, management took down the video, you are free to re-upload it, also went against Nijisanji's rules. Because, hey, communication, we don't do that here, buddy. Nope. Still though, they had the gall to claim that these actions led to various misunderstandings that damaged the reputation of both AnyColor and Nijisanji EN. Buddy, listen, let me tell you something. She's not the one damaging the reputation right now. You are. Because we are getting to the darkest section of the termination notice. In an effort to calm the situation, we sought to either publicly disclose the reasons for making the music video private or have Selen Tatsuki disclose them herself. While being mindful of Selen Tatsuki's physical and mental health, management did their best to communicate not only with Selen Tatsuki herself, but also her emergency contact. However, despite frequent communication with Selen Tatsuki's emergency contact while remaining considerate of her situation, we were unable to come to an agreement on how to proceed. The decision was made to temporarily remove her access to accounts on various social media platforms and video distribution services under the name Selen Tatsuki. Dude, this is so much worse now that we know what happened. This is so badly written. So you have to ask yourself why they're even talking to her emergency contact. And you also have to understand, what does while remaining considerate of her situation even mean? In any case, you couldn't stay curious about this because then there's another bombshell in the last paragraph of the notice. Despite our efforts, Selen Tatsuki demanded that AnyColor should be held legally responsible. It means she's suing them. She claimed that she was no longer able to engage in her activities as a liver due to the decisions made by AnyColor, was being harassed by other affiliated livers due to mismanagement, etc. By the way, as if it's like a little thing that you should ignore, while refusing to acknowledge her responsibility for violating the activity rules. Moreover, Selen Tatsuki insisted that if the negotiations did not progress, she would proceed to release a statement regarding her claims to the public. This little sentence sparked a war on Twitter, okay? The fact that she was being bullied internally? Who the hell thought that this letter was gonna make Nijisanji look better in this situation? Because you know what the cherry on top is? Even Selen had no idea. She saw the termination notice as everyone else was seeing it too. So she got back on her DokiBird account, and what she said is probably the worst thing to come out of this entire controversy. The attempt she made on her life. I will not be silenced anymore. On December, I was hospitalized for an attempt that was caused by a buildup of bullying from within and being in a toxic and poor environment for numerous months that led to my breaking point. I requested to leave first, but on more neutral terms on the 26th of January. So yeah, this bullying that Nijisanji mentioned so lightly actually caused her to almost lose her life. But no, guys, we gotta terminate her. She's too much of a stain on our reputation. This is what I mean when I say this needs to be taught at universities. This could not have been handled in a worse way. You have one of your top talents almost end their own lives over a toxic environment at your company. And your concern is your reputation? Like, I'm sorry, that is ridiculous. This is what ruined your reputation, buddy. This right here, the fact that so many people saw this tweet and understood what a terrible company you are. I mean, seriously. So far we understood that she was bullied internally, almost lost her life because of this, and still wanted to actually go through a friendly graduation saying goodbye to her fans without any more drama. But now that we know all this information, we have to take a step back on something very important. So here's the thing. Nijisanji self-reported themselves in the notice by admitting something they probably shouldn't have. As this Reddit post points out, Niji stated they stripped Selen's access from all accounts on December 26th, so these two tweets were written by staff impersonating her. Going back to the whole point of the Japanese apostrophe. So you're telling me that someone on your team tries to end their lives, and the day after they do, when they're in the hospital, you tweet on their behalf, and then you also have the gall to announce that they got out of the hospital, they're with family, speaking directly to their fans, looking forward to the new year, and you actually think this is a good idea? This is Nijisanji doing a very great job of personifying exactly why people hate corporations to begin with, because they just see you as a number, and this is a perfect example of that. Furthering this point of not giving a single shit about anyone in the company, they threw all their talent, all their VTubers under the bus when they said that there was bullying and harassment and didn't give any names, because after it got out that Selen almost died because of this, people started speculating in the worst possible way about who was bullying her. They started unsubbing from all other Nijisanji English branch VTubers. As you can see from this tweet here, I need names. Now, whoever was allegedly harassing her from the livers needs to be known, because if I support them, I do not want to any further. And many of them took a quote-unquote social media break, also with the Japanese apostrophe in those tweets announcing the break, because things were getting out of hand. However, at this point, one thing was certain. Nijisanji fucked up big time. So now is when shit starts to go down. In very ironic Nijisanji mismanagement fashion, they forgot to unmod Selen's mods on her YouTube channel. So to raise awareness about the situation, they created a live stream that was never meant to go live and just spammed the chat with links to DokiBird's channel, saying Nijisanji fucked up, they did not remove my mod. Please subscribe to DokiBird on that stream chat on YouTube. The hashtag Sink the Yacht started trending as well. This meant that people wanted to sink the yacht of the billionaire CEO of Nijisanji. After Nijisanji had caught wind of the rogue mods, they went and did the same thing in her Twitch channel. But wait a second, now that I'm looking at this picture, I just realized, why did this person resub for 28 months? Are they not aware Selen got terminated? Can someone tell them, please? As you can see, everyone is spamming Sink the Yacht. Someone also added Nijisanji to the list of Japanese black companies, aka a black corporation or black business is a Japanese term for an exploitative, sweatshop type employment system. As this was all going on, many people were coming out and saying that they were not going to work with Nijisanji anymore due to this. So here we can see a Clipper channel saying this. Here we can see a merch company doing this. They've worked with Nijisanji for years. And also Height, who makes PCs and had a huge collab planned with Nijisanji, straight up canceled it. Now look, you're not going to believe me when I say this, and you know what? You're right. But trust me on this. Even after all this, okay, Nijisanji still managed to make it even worse. Yes, I know, but it's the truth. They released this on their investor relations page. Impact of the decision to terminate the affiliation contract with the Nijisanji English Liver on our financial results. This was 2 days after the termination, mind you. On February 5th, 2024, Anycolor made the decision to terminate our affiliation contract with the Nijisanji English Liver, Selen Tatsuki. The impact of this decision on our financial results will be negligible. Bro, you had someone almost kill themselves, leave. You didn't even tell them that they're leaving. You terminated them even though they wanted to leave on friendly terms. And this is what you have to say with everyone protesting. That is insane to me. And they had never released a statement like this before on a termination, ever. Even Goldman Sachs had something to say about this, assuming minor earnings impact from Vtuber contract termination. Anycolor's share price has fallen for consecutive days after it announced on February 5th that it had terminated the contract of Nijisanji English streamer Selen Tatsuki. We see minimal impact on company-wide earnings from terminating the contract of one Vtuber. And they argue that because the Nijisanji English segment accounted for only 19% of company-wide sales, they wouldn't be affected that much. Imagine taking financial advice from Goldman Sachs. Because they kind of were. Not just a little bit, quite a lot. Because as you can see from this chart here, this wasn't a minimal loss of market value. Their share price tumbled 10% throughout the course of this whole controversy. This is the graduation announcement, it tumbled. Then they thought, okay, we saw the worst of it, we're cool. And then ironically, on the 7th, they put out the document saying, hey, this financial impact's gonna be negligible, guys, don't worry. And then, boom! Minus 10%, wiping $152 million off their market cap. Now, yes, as I mentioned earlier, the company's worth over $2 billion, but losing 10% of your stock price will never ever look good for any investor. Anycolor believes terminating Selen Tatsuki won't negatively impact finance. Minus 10%. That's crazy. But while this is looking very rough for Nijisanji right now, the good news is that it's not the case for DokiBird. It's a happy ending for her, thankfully. She got a manager, and she cried when they told her that from now on she can actually get sponsors to fund her projects instead of paying everything out of pocket. You see, it turns out that she spent over $200,000 just last year funding her own projects that Nijisanji would not fund themselves. According to her accountant, her mother, she made $0 last year. That's how crazy it was. Her return stream that was done a few days after she came back on her DokiBird account had over 120,000 concurrent viewers for like 2 hours straight. It didn't drop at all. And if you're not familiar with streaming, that's extremely impressive. Like esports events might get that kind of view count. And when she ended her stream, the total viewers that tuned in were around 1.1 million. And Nijisanji could have never predicted any of this because they're so stupid. They could have been by her side celebrating her success if they just supported her and didn't abandon her the way they did. But hey, she's free now and she's taking it all very well. This right here is a quote from one of her most recent streams. She said, so apparently the new Suicide Squad, oh, very poor choice of name considering recent events. Anyway, so she's taking it really well, which is great. She also did a vote to see what she should call her viewers now that she's DokiBird again, and they all voted Dragoons. And she said, well, screw it, it's not like it's copyrighted anyway. So the Dragoons live on. Meanwhile, this just came out very recently. Nijisanji is still struggling to keep this crisis under control. There was a huge Mario Kart 8 event planned with many of their VTubers, and they postponed it. Because in their words, they want to dedicate our full attention to prioritizing and ensuring the quality of our livers' well-being. How ironic is that, dude? Where were you when Selen needed your support? Very good question. This just seems like crazy damage control, and I doubt anything in management will change. I hope it does, but for the most part, it's just another corporation. Because just one day after she got terminated, they posted merch announcements. I don't think anything's gonna change. Wait, I feel like my dog communicates and understands better than this company. Oh my god. Look, if you're a viewer or a VTuber, there are two things you should take away from all this controversy. The first one being never, ever, under any circumstances, trust a corporation. And the second lesson, which I think is way more important than the first one, is that no matter how bad things are looking for you right now, there's never any circumstance in which you should attempt to take your own life. Less than 2 months ago, Doki almost took her own life because of how bad things were. And now, less than 2 months later, she is the happiest she could have ever been, never able to guess that she'd be here right now. So if you also feel like you're at the darkest point of your life, just tell yourself this. Hold on a while longer. In a month from now, you could be the happiest person ever. Hey, you got this. Don't give up. Let's go. Thank you so much for watching. This is the longest video I've ever made. I'm curious to see how it does. I also revealed my VTuber recently during this whole drama. I know. Perfect timing. Make sure to check it out on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you so much. Mwah.